All right, so this is a longhouse. This is from Trelleborg, which is near my hometown. And this, I believe, this is a picture I've taken myself. It might not be, but it is of the same longhouse, so it doesn't really matter if I took it or either. So inside a longhouse like this, you would have it divided up in three parts. You would have the entrance where you would have what is it called, stock, like animals, and maybe like a warehouse or something like that. And then you would have the centerpiece where you would have a place where you would prepare food in the middle, and you would have the top. The top of the house would be open, so the smoke could get out through the middle of the top of the longhouse. And then in the last part, you would have the bedchamber of the family, or of the chieftain or jarl who lived there. A longhouse family consists, of course, of a patrician, and then he would have a wife and he would have children, etc. But he might also have other people living with him, like freemen and thralls. So the difference between a freeman is a man that is free in the sense of the word, and a thrall is the opposite of that, a man who's not free or a woman who's not free. Now this doesn't necessarily mean slavery. It also includes like apprentices, and so it's more like the Roman way of slavery, or slaves, rather than the American way of slavery. So I don't know. I'm hoping here that people understand the difference between those two. But otherwise, let's put it a different way. It's not chattel slavery in the same way that it was in the U.S. It's a
Right.
different form of slavery.
It's more of
Uh,
a. Would you say it's more indentured servitude?
yes, that's also one of the ways that you could be put into it. Yes, but also just if you have a kid and you want that kid to be a blacksmith, you might send him to the blacksmith, and he would be a thrall as an
As a
apprentice there.
thrall, as it's called in English here, radical centrist. Yes.
Yeah.
Leo, you had something you wanted to add here.
Yes. I think just to give some nuance to explain what JG is trying to say here is that thrall is not the equivalent of slave. It's thrall is equivalent of essentially being held in bondage. So the European medieval variant of this would be that you are an apprentice. For example, as JG said, a blacksmith's apprentice, a cobbler's apprentice, whatever apprentice. You are held in bondage as an apprentice for a set number of years of service to learn a trade. That means that you are a thrall. The Society of Scandinavia here makes a very clean distinction between a thrall and a slave, as JG
Because
says.
the idea is if you've sort of sworn yourself to the blacksmith as his apprentice, you're
yeah, it's a kind of
not your own man, quote unquote, until you're done.
Yeah, you are in a sense, as we would say in modern Scandinavian language, the man who owes is not free. This is the same thing. You owe a debt of servitude, but you are not a slave. And if certain conditions apply, then your oath of bondage is broken. Then you are free to go away, because this was not what you agreed upon. So it's more of a contract rather than slavery.
Yeah, yes, that's a good way to put it. So you have to understand Viking society in dichotomy, right? Like, so you have freemen and you have thralls, and that's where the line is drawn. It's not drawn in chattel slavery like in the US. Okay, so each of the jarls, let's say that a jarl lives in that longhouse, he could perhaps have 10 freemen working for him. These would be Carls. And then if you look at that structure, you have a chieftain. He might have a dozen jarls under him. And each of those jarls might have a dozen Carls under him, right? So if you do 12 times 12, then you have 144 men. That's what could be in a big Viking ship. So one village would be 1 to 3 Viking ships, depending on the size, right? And these would then take out and raid. And they have a pre-made structure in the chieftain, jarl, and Carl set up with the men.